Aloha and welcome to our video on the organ systems. Today we will list the organ systems in the body and also will describe how the integumentary system contributes to homeostasis. Now we've seen this before, but the organization of the human body by levels. And when we look at this, what we're talking about is starting off with a cell. And then if we have a bunch of cells working together, we end up with a tissue. When we have a bunch of tissues working together, we end up with an organ, and we get a bunch of organs working together, we end up with an organ system. We add a bunch of organ systems, and that makes the organisms. We can see how all of these kind of interrelate and are related to each other. As a quick review of all of the different systems that we'll be covering in this unit, let's go through them real quickly. First up is the integumentary system. Quite simply, that's going to be the skin, our sweat glands, and our hair. It helps regulate body temperature, it helps us remove some waste, but mainly it protects the body from foreign invasion. Next up is the skeletal system, made of bones, cartilage, and ligaments. The skeletal system protects internal organs, provides our structure and shape, and allows for movement. It also is an area where we can store minerals and produces our blood cells. In the muscular system, which is made of muscles and tendons, this is what provides voluntary and involuntary movement. Without the muscles, we would just kind of lay around and do nothing. It takes the muscles to make movement happen. The digestive system consists of the mouth, esophagus, stomach, liver, gallbladder, pancreas, intestines, rectum, and anus, and it's for breaking down food. It also is where we absorb the water and the nutrients we get from the food, and it's important in the elimination of wastes. Moving on to the respiratory system, which is the lungs, pharynx, larynx, bronchus, alveoli, bronchiolae, and the diaphragm. This is how we take oxygen into the body, which we use for cellular respiration, and it's how we get rid of carbon dioxide, the waste product of cellular respiration. Up next is the circulatory system, made of the heart, the blood vessels, and the blood itself. And the main function of the circulatory system is to transport gases and nutrients throughout the body. It also helps carry away waste materials from the cells. Next up, the nervous system, made of the brain, spinal cord, neurons, and sense organs. This is what coordinates and controls body movements and responses. This is what makes sure we're doing what we need to be doing. It also serves as a communication network for the body. The endocrine system is made up of a bunch of different glands. We won't go over those now, we'll go over those a little bit later on, but these glands produce hormones which help regulate body functions. The excretory system is made up of the kidneys, the urinary bladder, the ureters, and the urethra, and this is what regulates water balance in the body. It also is important in removing wastes from the body as well. We also have the immune and lymph systems made of the spleen, thymus, lymph nodes, and the white blood cells, and these are what protects the body from diseases by fighting infections. And finally, that brings us to the reproductive system. Once again, we're seeing a bunch of different structures, which we'll cover later on, but primary function of the reproduction system is to create sperm and eggs, and then to protect and nourish a developing embryo inside of a female. Okay, so let's take a little bit of a deeper look into the integumentary system. The integumentary system, you can see here by this cross section, is basically where the skin is and the things that are associated with the skin. We have three different layers of the integumentary system. The epidermis is the outer layer, and that one offers primarily protection for things coming in. It keeps things from getting into our body, like pathogens, diseases, illnesses, things like that. It keeps a barrier from us and the rest of the world. The middle layer is the dermis. In the dermis is where we have all of our extra things in the skin, like our oil glands, our hair follicles, our sweat glands, things of that nature. That's where it's kept. And then below that is the fatty layer, and the fatty layer is quite simply an insulation. It helps regulate body temperature, so it's important in the role of homeostasis, because what it'll do is it'll trap our heat inside of us when it's colder outside, or it'll keep the heat and the cold outside of the body, and it allows us to keep our body in a nice normal temperature that allows all of the reactions that we need to live happen. So these are the three layers of the system, and we can see some of the things that are in there as well. The hair is included in this system here, and the hair pole is an interesting thing, somewhat sensory. We can kind of tell when we bump things with the hair, like whiskers and things of that nature, but also it helps create this pocket of air above. So when it's cold and you get goosebumps and your hair stands up, what it's doing is it's trapping that air, and then we heat up that air and it kind of works like an air blanket to keep us warm. When you get scared and you get goosebumps, again, it's just going to be a little more sensory so you can feel if something touches it. Okay, so if we take a look at the system here, you can see that it's basically the skin that we have. It's made up of skin, made up of the hair, which we talked about, and it's also made up of sweat glands. And sweat glands are important because what that does is it'll put a layer of water on our body, and when that water evaporates, it'll pull the heat from our body, and that's how we cool. So that's why you get sweaty when it's hot outside or if you're doing a lot of activity. So, as we mentioned, the function of the integumentary is to regulate body temperature, and that's done with this sweating, with the hair, with the fatty layer. All of those things help regulate our body temperature, keep it to where it needs to be in that homeostatic condition so that all of our reactions can work and function. It also removes waste. We can sweat out some things that way, and then it also protects the body by forming a barrier between us and the environment that doesn't allow things in. Okay, so that's it for this video. I know there's an awful lot here, but this is kind of an introductory to all the systems. Good luck with your lessons, and as always, we'll see you in the next video.